nestled in the gap of an Appalachian mountaintop, was quiet as a mouse, and had been peaceful for a good long spell, as the locals would say. It was a bountiful time of plenty and prosperity, with overripe remains of produce littering the fields of harvested gardens. Nonetheless, the true story on which the film was based would serve as foundation for the dramatized, fictionalized version that would unfold during filming. He needed a gifted scriptwriter who could transpose his evolutionary process into dialogue, and there was none better than Fry. He'd taken a risk hiring the man, but he'd been a risk-taker since his early days in Hollywood. It had taken decades for Sherwood to become a film industry. She had hoped the film would be an accurate depiction of them and appreciated Richard Sherwood's desire for her input. Today had not gone well, and Richard was naturally frustrated. She felt sympathy for Megan, and yet knew she was perfect for the role. She would ask her sister for help in this matter. Phoebe had known Evangeline long ago. She would know how to help Megan. She would know what to do. As for Richard Sherwood, Penn knew instinctively how to help him. Buddy had been exceedingly patient. After her final outburst, he'd taken Megan aside, put his hands on her shoulders, and asked her to look up at him, allowing her to watch as he slipped out of character. Not yet, Oralee, but I'm heading in the right direction. Don't worry about a thing, Chief. After dealing with superstitious citizens all week, I can deal with a few pushy reporters. Farley had no doubt. He left in a hurry, having been delayed by the wait. Just as he reached the Sutton farm, his cell phone vibrated. Chief Farley, you gave me this number a long time ago. I had no reason to use it until now. Stunned, he replied, Radio him and tell him I need him back in town immediately. We may have a missing person. I'll be contacting the sheriff within the hour. Good gracious, not another one! I don't think my heart can stand another body sacrificed to a scarecrow. Folks won't be able to put in a garden anymore without having nightmares. I'll get back to you, Oralee. I'm heading up Church Street to talk to Dev and Kate. Tell Purdy to wait for me when he returns. Kate, Dev, Steve, and Eleanor had been using the chart made by the sketch artist as a guideline. When Farley joined them, Dev relayed their shared impressions of the witnesses and gave him the sketch with check marks on it indicating wild-eyed and crazed, and then lunged toward him, grabbing a misshapen piece of wood from his arms. The other logs and branches he'd been carrying fell to the ground. His father went back through the doorway, while he stood there scared senseless, listening to him unleash his furious assault until the awful moaning and sickening thud of blows came to an end. He'd been unable to move or help his poor mother. He was only a boy, and no match for a powerful, violent man. But he should have done something, screamed, cried, something, instead of standing there paralyzed with fear. The terrible silence that followed seemed to go on forever until his father returned to the doorway, his clothing soaked with blood. The real horror began later that night and was burned into his brain like a hideous fable. He was forced to listen to his father's excuses, claiming his mother had planned to leave them, had provoked him, had dared him to stop her, had caused him to lose control. He listened to his father's lying words through ringing ears and stinging eyes, and still he could not speak or move. His father grabbed his arm to pull him inside. The doorway loomed before him like a gateway to hell, imagining his mother's lifeless body beyond it in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor. He yanked his arm away and ran. He knew where to go and how to get there. It was the only safe place he had. He'd gone there many times before, late at night, running from the sound of endless beatings.